I'm really interested in how public space is used, by whom and when, what for, what purpose does it have for different people and different age groups. To be able to use it in a way that makes sense to you, when you want to use it, when you feel the need to get away and maybe do something different from what you usually do. Feeling that you belong, and how do you belong in places that are made in a certain way, and can they be made in a different way, and who decides how they are planned and how they're made. Doing things together in city planning and the planning of public space. I've spent a lot of time documenting traces of activity in public space. Everywhere I go, I see traces of activity. It's of course impossible to know who's made these traces, but nevertheless, it's fascinating to me how we leave a mark in different environments. Some of them are permanent, some of them are more temporary. Some of them are communicating with someone else who comes to the place later on, and some of them are just for the person who made it, perhaps. These things we don't know. Some of them are maybe not intentional, but nevertheless they communicate with us in their own way. Some of them will disappear with time. One interesting thing is that it seems that just the adjustment and the possibility of adjustment makes it easier to use the place in the way you want to use it. If there is nothing there, maybe you can add to the environment so that it serves your needs. One idea that I've heard from young people that I've interviewed is that places like this one are perceived as free. No one owns them, no one cares about them, so I might as well use it. Being high up is something that is often mentioned when I talk to young people. They like the sense of power and ownership, even if it's just a mental ownership. This place, this view is mine, and I can keep it for myself in a way. A place to go to where I can be free of all demands and maybe leave my mark. And this is nothing new. This has been going on for ages. People leaving their mark in places for different reasons. To be outside and to adapt to weather and wind and the course of nature is something that a lot of young people have told me that they really, really enjoy. And nature in the city is described as magical, especially in springtime. This is a place where they want to be, where they're comfortable, and maybe it gives them some perspective on things. To be able to do something when you hang out with your friends seems important. A lot of the young people I've talked to say that they really like to spend time at the playgrounds. Even though it's not made for them, they like to use the swings. They can move around and it gets easier to talk about difficult things that you want to talk and share with your friends. And then somebody else comes along who is the intended user of this place, and they describe to me that then we have to leave. It's not for us, but it's somewhere where we really like to be. To be able to hang around in public space on their own terms. If you don't feel welcome, if you feel excluded, and that no one listens to what you're interested in, of course, that could be very difficult to then become somebody who's supposed to take responsibility and act as a part of the community. So if public space was designed together with different groups so that we can see the different needs and meet these needs in a better way, be more flexible, have things that could be adapted and changed, even if it's only a temporary change, so that we can all find places where we can unwind and feel comfortable, regardless of our age. So I've been studying what phenomena, functions and physical qualities that can enhance creativity and promote the creative place making for different people. And the spaces in between seem to be very interesting. The places that aren't programmed, that are not decided what you should be doing there. And it's possible to make your own function, use it in the way you want. So we need to leave places and not develop every single little area, but leave some for the imagination of the individuals who actually use them. To have things that can be moved, most park benches are fastened to the ground. You can't move them. And of course, from a planning perspective, that's predictable and easy. But what if I want to sit in the shade and not in the sun, or the other way around, or sit closer together to my friends, to be able to move things so they serve the need in this moment, and then it can be moved by somebody else who needs it in a different way later on. To feel the freedom and power to control your environment and use it for the purposes that you have and the needs that you have at the moment creates a sense of belonging. Many of the places we have in public space are perceived as boring and difficult by young people. There are a lot of demands in public space. You have to act in a certain way, you have to be in a certain way. Sometimes you're asked to go away for no good reason whatsoever. People expect you to do something that they're not comfortable with. But what about me? Where should I be if there are no places that are made for me? Could there be places that I make myself, where I'm not asked to leave because I'm not the intended user? And the kids I've been talking to, they describe these places that they really prefer and enjoy with places where there is something to do that isn't decided by somebody else, where you feel free. You can sit in the way you like. You feel welcome, or at least not welcome. And yet again, nature and green and water and all of these things are reoccurring themes that are mentioned when I have talked to these young people as important things in the public space. So understanding how young people relate to public space is important if we're going to be able to create a sustainable planning that meets the needs of different age groups, and particularly young people. In public space, many of the places are programmed. There is an intended way that they should be used in. And of course, this supports anyone who wants to play basketball if there's a basketball court. But if I'm not interested in basketball, but I still like the place, how can it be used for other things? Can we create places that are more flexible? Places that are too programmed can be perceived as monotonous or even boring and lead to understimulation and frustration. Whereas if we have a more dynamic planning and places in public space that can support different kinds of activities and support recreation and restoration and make you feel that you belong no matter how old you are, that gives a sense of well-being. Here in Sweden we have a unique right to roam freely in the countryside. We are allowed to be in nature in our own responsible way. We have to, of course, take care of the wildlife and show consideration for landowners and other people using the space. But you can go into nature in a very spontaneous way. And it's summed up with the phrase, don't disturb, don't destroy. And I've been wondering if this could be translated into a creative context so that we can use places in a respectful way, but in a way that promotes joy and creativity. Can we have the right to roam creatively without disturbing and destroying and possibly bringing people together with joyous things in public space? Decorate places that you feel need a little bit more colour perhaps, or more nature. Leaving your mark, saying, this is where I belong, I was here, I will be back. Communicating. Using things in a way that they're not intended. To be able to create places that work for all age groups in public space, we need to have an adapted planning process, because you're young here and now. A planning process that takes years isn't quite interesting to young people, because then they're all grown up or they might have moved away. So I think we need to find a way for planning to be more in the moment. It doesn't have to be permanent. It can be things that can be just for the moment. And to find the way to this, it's all about communicating with the people who use these places. Small and simple changes can make a big difference. I got really inspired about the kids who said that we want to be at the playground, we want to swing, but we're not really allowed and we don't feel like it's our place, because when the intended user, the small children, come, we have to move away. So I was thinking, could we create more spontaneous hangout places with swings that young people can use on their own terms, not being moved away? And I started to look for a material that I could use for this project. Could I make a swing that could stand the forces of outdoors and yet be flexible and comfortable and strong? And I've seen the tire swings. That's a phenomenon it's known since forever. And I thought, is there possibly another material from cars that could be used to make a swing from. So I went to the scrapyard and I collected a big bag of seat belts that I cut out from cars before they got put into the crusher. And here I had my material that is also UV resistant and would have been thrown away. So I made a swing that I imagine can be hung from trees in parks or in other areas of public space where people can use them whenever they like. And I made it by different kinds of seat belts from different kinds of cars, different colours, and I wove it all together to be used in different ways. You can sit in it, you can hang in it, possibly you can use it together with somebody. It's all up to the user to use it in a way that they like.